Thank you. How the fuck are you? So it's great to hear about America because I think this is a country of ideas. I think America is, frankly, about having ideas. That's what makes us distinct in the world. So I want us to think about how we have ideas and how we continue to persist in being a country of ideas. So here's a show of hands. How many of you get paid to have ideas every day? All right. You know, if we were in China or India, that would be quite different. More people are charged with producing other people's ideas. So you live in an interesting country in that regard. So how do we keep that going? One of the first things that we really got to think about is that if you're an idea person, you choose to be an idea person. As Robert Grudin said, creativity is dangerous. So if you're an idea person, you are dramatically against the status quo. You are into changing things, and you need to own that. You need to be a person who says, you know what, I don't give a fuck about the status quo. I'm here to change things, and that's what my job is. So embrace that, own that. Be a person who is all about change. And I think we saw a picture of this man earlier. Here's the problem with having ideas, though, is that anybody can have them, and oftentimes everyone does. So we have to learn how to fight mediocrity. And that's kind of a difficult thing, right, to learn to fight mediocrity. So I want to talk to you today about 5 tips, 5 ways of embracing ideas and developing cultures inside of companies and here in our country that allow us to persist in being an ideas-driven culture. So the first tip is that, well, frankly, according to Mr. Sheen, winning, or against Mr. Sheen, winning isn't everything. And I think it's important that we think about ideas as a process of failing, by which I mean learning, as it is in succeeding. A guy named Seth Godin said recently, successful people fail often and learn more from failing than anyone else. So tomorrow when you go into work, this is what I want you to do. Gather everybody in your team together, and you're all going to shout together, failure is awesome! Failure is awesome! Come on, failure is awesome! Failure is awesome, Frank. That's the thing we all want to take out. So here's another way. How do we fail? How do we learn to fail? Well, the first thing we got to do is essentially do our due diligence. So we need to figure out, well, where is the gold? So here's the metaphor. There are ideas everywhere. Let's say they're in your backyard. Do you go out and dig one really deep, perfect hole to find the ideas, to find the gold? Or do you dig 1,000 shallow holes because you want to learn where the ideas aren't? I recommend the second method. It's important to figure out where the ideas aren't so that you know where the ideas are. Second tip here, third tip, is so how do I do that? How do I generate things? The major point here is to exhaust yourself. I think that people who have ideas are in the business of exhausting themselves. How many of you have taken as like an improv comedy class? Right? So there's an exercise called Clams are pretty. Clams are pretty because they're wearing a red sweater. Clams are pretty because they like blue shoes. Clams are pretty because they fall out of the rectums of angels. Clams are pretty because they're here at Ignite. Clams are pretty, you get the idea. Exhaust yourself. Take an idea and ask yourself, my idea is about, and keep going. Keep going. So the second thing is to focus on legibility. I encourage you to resist ornamentation. If you're an ideas person, be clear, enough. When you're articulating ideas, resist ornamentation because it's not going to get you anywhere. What you want to have is legibility. This quote, which is, I'll read it because it's on my arm here. It says, never fall in love so much that you can't change. The lesson here is continue to be open. If you're an ideas person, you should be willing to continue to explore things and be open to criticism, be open to new routes, be open to new ideas. As Thomas Carlyle said, the greatest of all faults is to be conscious of none. I would say if the greatest of all problems with ideas is being unopen to new ones. So continue to be open. And so here's the, we had 5 tips at the 6. Be an art director. Okay, every art director I've ever worked with has ignored deadlines. A good friend of mine, Kari Streeter, said the business of ideas is 80% conceptual thinking and 20% finished carpentry. Ignore the finished carpentry, focus on the ideas. Keep pushing. Even though you got a deadline, keep pushing. Deliver something at deadline, but keep pushing. Ignore the rules. The second idea that's tangential to this is don't go it alone. If you're an ideas person, you shouldn't be out in the woods all by yourself. You should be doing it with other people. Ideas are about collaboration, and that's how we thrive here. So Set dates for collaborating with people. Set dates for seeking approval. Get other people involved in the process of having ideas. But all that said, you got to ship. As Bill Westbrook said, an idea isn't an idea until it's produced. So at some point, if we're in ideas culture, we got to produce those ideas. And then finally, the last and most important point about having ideas is to stop having ideas. It's vitally important that if you're an ideas person, that you make time to not have ideas and to kick back, have a beer, maybe get yourself some more tattoos and stuff like that. So thank you. Go forward, America. Be an idea culture. God bless.